newer UFC fans, you won't know. It used to be just banger after banger after banger, and now you have to wade through kind of like Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption, 500 yards of shit before you hit the real good stuff. You know what I mean? It's just
Oh
500
my
yards of shit,
god.
one good thing. 500 yards of shit, one good thing.
All right, welcome to another episode of Two Fight Fans. We talk about all things in combat sports. I'm one fight fan, Colin.
And I'm the other Stuart.
All right. Well, first things first. Stu, there's a fight this weekend. Are you watching it?
Is there?
There is a scheduled
All right.
fight.
Yes. A singular fight. Not a fight card. You're right, Colin.
Yes.
Yes, there is an Apex card. I will not be watching it. And here's the sad thing, Colin. The featherweight division is no country for old men. And we're about to learn that with Alexander Volkanovski fighting Diego Lopez. And we're also about to get a preamble to that with Lerone Murphy versus Josh Emmet. And so maybe we should change the name. It's no country for old alpha men, because it is the last fighting member of Team Alpha Male, the real OG Team Alpha Male, fighting in the main event. And to me, this looks like a setup for Lerone Murphy to kind of take the hype from Josh Emmet. Unfortunately, there's nothing else on this card to get anyone to watch, and nobody even knows the name Lerone Murphy. So it's going to be a bummer, but this main event is important. Colin, are you interested in this main event, and do you have a pick?
Okay, well, tell me why it's important. Why to you is it important?
Well, Josh Emmet, as a stalwart of the 145-pound division, he was the fight. His last fight was against, I believe, Ilia Topuria, who then went on to fight for the title and then became.
Yeah. Did he fight? Did he knock out Bryce Mitchell?
Was that his last fight, or did he knock out Bryce Mitchell before Ilia Topuria?
Let's see. Hold on.
Up. Maybe I have my my dates wrong, but I think
he lost to Ilia Topuria and then knocked out Bryce Mitchell.
Okay.
Over a year ago.
Great. So let's just recount what not Bryce Mitchell. Fuck that guy. Who gives a shit? He's about to get killed by Long John Silva. But Josh Emmet.
Did you just change his name to Long John Silva now?
Yeah, it could be Blue Jean Silva. It could be Long John Silva. It's whatever you need it to be. You know what I mean?
All right. Yeah. No, I'm good. I love it. This is a great name.
Yeah, that's right. Bryce Mitchell, over the past 2 years, he has fought for the interim title against Yair Rodriguez, which set Yair Rodriguez up for a title fight against Alexander Volkanovski. He fought Ilia Topuria in a fight that set Ilia Topuria up to fight Alexander Volkanovski. And then on a short notice turnaround, he had a KO of the fucking year against Bryce Mitchell. And not even because I don't like Bryce Mitchell, but because I haven't seen someone seize in the octagon because of a knockout, I think ever. Josh Emmet is the greatest IQ test of a fighter of all time. If you can't mind your P's and Q's and fight intelligently across 5 rounds, 3 rounds, however many rounds you have, Josh Emmet has the most thunderous knockout power, even more than Ilia Topuria, in this division.
Wow. Okay.
This dude hits like a...
You think that's maintained over these years, now that he's in his 40s?
I mean, it's been, less than... I guess it's been a year and a half since he... I mean, he knocked out Bryce Mitchell so hard that Bryce Mitchell started having a seizure in the octagon. Like, this dude thumps. Like, this guy hits hard. Anyway, but here's the thing. He's very limited. He doesn't really know how to deal with good footwork. He doesn't really know how to deal with a jab. Now, he can take 5 or 6 punches, so he can land one singular punch, and his punch will have more damage than your 5 or 6 punches. Ilia Topuria hits like a motherfucker, and Ilia Topuria was still, like, tripling, quadrupling up on the number of punches landed
Hmm.
on Bryce Mitchell, and Bryce Mitchell never was dropped. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
this guy can hit. So he is the most elite IQ test, which is, do you have the footwork? Do you know how to stay behind a jab? Can you stay at range? And can you properly pressure without running onto a counter?
Mm.
And that's what Josh Emmett offers, right? He doesn't have the most dynamic grappling. He's got good takedowns, good takedown defense, but nothing crazy, nothing lights out. He's got pretty rudimentary striking. The only thing he really has is he can take punishment and he can knock you the fuck out really fucking fast.
Mhm.
So if you are a Yair Rodriguez, an Ilia Topuria, a Brian Ortega, you can beat this guy. Like, he's not a top 5 fighter.
Okay.
So if
Okay.
Lerone Murphy wants to prove he's a top 5 fighter, he should be able to beat him. The question is, Colin, is Lerone Murphy a top 5 fighter?
I don't know. He's had some. His most recent win that I saw was against Dan Ige, and I remember thinking I was more disappointed with Dan Ige than impressed with Lerone Murphy, but
Mm-hmm.
he still had an impressive win. We've talked about it. Featherweight is Division Kings, and breaking into the top 5. That
Hard.
that is that's a hard ass there. That's a hard. I don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
I admittedly, like you alluded to earlier, I don't know much about Lerone Murphy. I've only seen his fight against Dan Ige.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. So I may have actually now. I think I've seen the Edson Barboza fight as well, because I think we
Yeah.
talked about that one too. So,
A-
um,
And what a tale of 2 fights. Edson
mhm,
Barboza, Lerone Murphy, masterful.
mhm.
No mistakes, pressuring properly, beating Edson Barboza at his game. 5 rounds, consistent, no slip ups, nothing. Fantastic. Lerone Murphy, after watching that fight, I'm like, this guy is a title challenger. Then he fights Dan Ige. And like you said, oh no, I'm more disappointed in Dan Ige than I'm impressed by Lerone Murphy. Because Lerone Murphy seemed to contract in between those fights. A bad case of donkey brains.
Mhm.
How much more punishing is it to have donkey brains against Josh Emmett than it is Dan Ige?
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
slip up and have those mistakes.
Yeah. It's a bad time. It's a bad time. It's like going into a marathon with pneumonia, man. You can't be doing that. That's a bad time. So here's the question, Colin. Understanding that a little bit, because Lerone Murphy, let's talk about it. He's very well rounded. He mostly
Mhm.
sticks behind a jab. He has good footwork. He has a good understanding of range, but he makes cataclysmically bad decisions. But he's so athletic and so talented, he can fight out of them against lower level competition, like Dan Ige, like older Edson Barboza.
Yep.
Can he do that against man who punched flat earther Bryce Mitchell into a seizure, Josh Emmett? Is this
Well,
truly No Country for Old Alpha Men, or will Josh Emmett reign supreme?
what is Lerone Murphy's grappling and ground game like? Because, like you said, Josh Emmett doesn't have much of that, right?
So Josh Emmett is a pretty good wrestler and counter wrestler.
Okay.
He's very much in the alpha male mold,
Yeah.
like Uriah Faber, like Chad Mendes, a good wrestler who just happens to have like thunderous power.
Okay.
Now, does he have good positional grappling, good sweeps, actual technical submission grappling? Josh Emmett? No. Lerone Murphy does have that. But does that matter when you have a physical force like Josh Emmett on top of you? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Lerone Murphy will be able to like use his slick submission grappling to tap Josh Emmett.
Okay.
Most likely what will happen is one of these motherfuckers is going to get dropped, and then if there is a submission, it will come from one person is wobbled and on the ground, and the other person is fully conscious, ready to go.
Mm.
They're able to take the back or snatch up an arm or a limb and submit them.
Okay. All right, that is a fair and well educated description of that. So,
That's right. And it might mean nothing because this is MMA and
yeah,
education means fuck all.
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're not doing picks for this fight card, but you
No,
know
no,
what?
no.
I'll go with Josh Emmet. Sure.
All right. All right. It makes sense, right? Like, Lerone Murphy showed in the 3-round Dan Ige fight that he can't be trusted to make 2 good decisions in a row overall. And Josh Emmett's the worst fighter to not make 2 good decisions in a row
Yep.
against it 145. So, makes sense. On the other hand, Lerone Murphy's potential is 9 times higher than Josh Emmett's.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
if he can even reach half of that potential, he should be able to beat Josh Emmett.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if he can, Colin.
Yeah.
And it
Well, it's like,
scares me.
and you said he's a good litmus test to see can he break into the top 5, 7 of the featherweight division. Do you think Lerone Murphy belongs up there with the elite of the elite?
I don't know.
Come on.
Uh,
What does your heart tell you?
oh, man, it tells me to not bet on. Okay, so here's the thing. And is this ageist? 100% it is. Josh Emmett is 40 fucking years old.
Yeah.
Lerone Murphy is 33. He's younger than me. Like, I don't know. I know how my body feels at my age. I can't imagine what it feels at 40 years old after being knocked out horrendously like Josh Emmett has been. I'm going to go with, fuck, it's hard. I'm going to go with Lerone Murphy. Fuck it. I'll seem like a genius if I pick it, and if I get it wrong, I'll go, of course I didn't get it right. It's Josh Emmett. No, I think I will go with Lerone Murphy. Yeah, I think genuinely, I'm putting my money on him. Yeah.
All right.
And here's the thing. This is a classic passing of the torch fight at featherweight, which featherweight is turning out to be No Country for Old Men, right? Max Holloway is going away. Alexander Volkanovski is going away. We have Diego Lopez coming up. Mosar Evloev coming up. We might have Lerone Murphy coming up. We might be losing Josh Emmett. Like, this is the division of young guns.
Yeah.
And they're burying this on an Apex card with not a single other fight that is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, the UFC just going, hey, featherweight, the division of kings. Fuck it. Let's put what might be the next title challenger on an Apex card. Embarrassing, dude.
Yep.
Embarrassing. Anyway, so that's what's coming up. But who gives a shit about this? We're not going to talk about this. This is a card that neither one of us is going to watch. We'll kind of recount it like as if we were recounting a fairy tale. Oh, did you hear the story of Lerone Murphy? Oh, yes, it was very funny. And then we'll move on. Like, we're not going to like dive deep into this and talk about their footwork and their toe position and fucking how their elbows were cocked properly. Whatever. We're here to talk about the upcoming fights that have been announced, which absolutely slap. Colin, please walk us through a couple of these fights.
All right. So the first one that was announced, but there is some disappointment with it. You know, you got to take the good with the bad. Yeah. Did you know this? Ian Garry, like you predicted, will be fighting Carlos Prates. But
that's sex on a plate.
It is. But it is booting off the other sex on a plate for the main event in Kansas City, which was Khalil Roundtree Jr. versus Jamal Hill.
Oh, I did not know this.
Yeah, Jamal Hill pulled out because of an injury.
Wow, Jamal Hill, the pullout king. I did not know that. Okay. Is Khalil still gonna fight?
It is not determined yet, but he is pulled from the card as of now. So I don't know if they're saving him for an opponent for Khalil Roundtree. I really want him to fight Jamal Hill. They were slated to fight once already, and that was canceled once as well.
Yeah. Now, Just as a hypothetical, before we dive into the actual matchup and the heartbreak that I have around the loss of this fight, what
Okay.
if Khalil stayed on this fight card by fighting Yuri Prochazka or Carlos Holberg?
I would definitely be interested in him fighting Yuri Prochazka.
Like, is that how much blood is rushing to your lower half for Yuri versus Khalil?
Uh, I'm interested to see what Samurai Yuri can do at a division where he actually cuts down at, and just see like does his
No, this
weird.
is 205.
Oh no, this is 205.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, yeah. I'm good with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I can't operate a motor vehicle with how hard I am. I don't have enough blood in my fucking brain. Like a Yuri versus Khalil fight, that's amazing.
That would be good.
Uh,
That would be good. It'd be very
yeah,
entertaining.
yeah.
I wanted this is bad to say, but I've wanted to see Khalil murder Jamal Hill now for like 8 months, ever since they announced
I
the first one.
I know. Like that's kind of what's like I hear the Ian Garry versus Carlos Prates fight, and I'm like, I love that. But then I hear we're losing Jamal Hill versus Cleo Roundtree, which
I
is news
know.
to me in the real moment. And I feel sort of I recognize my like plebeianness and like mouth breathing casualness because what you've offered me is basically something that from a fight perspective is like an opera or a Shakespearean play. It's Carlos Prates, it's Ian Garry, it's high level of skill, it's back and forth, it's tit for tat most likely. But what I really wanted to see was just a public
We're
execution.
just murder.
Yeah, I just wanted to see a public hanging. You know what I mean? And so I go like, "Oh no, I'm not the sophisticate I thought I was. You said you want tickets to the opera or to this execution?" And I went, "Ugh, maybe the execution, maybe the execution." Yeah. No, Carlos Prates, Ian Garry, a phenomenal fight. I'd love that. Let's do it every day of the week. Let's do 7 fights in a row. It is a bummer that we do lose Khalil versus Jamal, but like maybe can we get Khalil versus someone else? Carlos Oberg is a good one. Even Jan Blachowicz would be good. Or Yuri. Dude, Yuri Khalil would be a fucking
That
amazing
would be
fight.
great. Yeah.
Ugh. Now I will say, Ian Garry, Carlos Prates, 5 rounds main event on well, at least in Canada, free TV. We love that. I can go to any sports bar. I can go to any. Did you know this up here? There's a popular sports bar in Canada called Boston Pizza. I don't have the heart to tell Canadians that Boston is not even in the top 10 cities that you can have pizza from. There's a significantly more pizza that you can get from different cities that are better. But anyway, Boston Pizza, that's kind of the local sports bar. It's really sad. It's not New
Okay.
York. It's not Chicago. It's not Detroit. It's not fucking. Dude, it's not even like Kansas City pizza. It's Boston pizza, which means it's full of racism and no black olives, if you catch my drift. It's not great. Anyway, but I can walk into my local Boston Pizza and I can watch this fight. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm into that.
All right. All right.
How do you feel about the fight?
I mean, this was a fight that you said would be a great replacement. I'm really happy for it. I think it'll be a good like rising title contenders matchup. I also like as we've watched this or as we've done this podcast, I've just become a great big fan of Carlos Prates and everything he stands for.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
action
Mhm.
fighter, wild man, smoker, drinker, steak eater. Like
Yeah.
he just checks all boxes. I love it. You know, like
He's like RFK Jr.'s favorite fighter, probably. Right? No vaccines, only meat diet, smoking cigarettes, unfiltered. That helps beat Ebola or whatever the fuck RFK Jr. believes. Yeah, he's a cool dude.
yeah. So yeah, I'm with it. I am super, super disappointed. Just like you, I wanted to see a murder, and I'm really sad that I don't get to see one.
Hopefully Khalil gets rescheduled because it's Jamal that was injured. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully Khalil gets, because we know we're going to get Para versus Ankalaev too. We have Olberg, we have Roundtree, and we have Prohaska. So like at least two of those dudes gotta fucking fight. So
Mhm.
hopefully it'll be Khalil. I mean, dude, Khalil Olberg, Khalil Prohaska, both of those
Yeah.
fights are good.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah. All right, Colin. What else was announced?
Sean O'Malley versus Merab 2 at UFC 316 in New Jersey. It's also where the Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison title fight will take place. So 2 title fights on that card, as well as a number of other fun-ish fighters, I guess, on that one. Cheeto Vera's fighting, Josh Van is fighting, and favorite boy Johnny Walker's also fighting on that card.
How do we feel about those title fights, Colin?
All right, which one do you want to start with?
I mean, dealer's choice. You let me know.
Well, okay. I will like to see. I want to see if Sean O'Malley can do anything to negate Merab's insane cardio and takedown ability.
Why?
Why? He has a unique striking ability for the bantamweight division, you know?
Mhm.
And I just
Yeah.
want to see if there's anything more to him aside from that.
I mean, has he fought since he
No.
fought Merab last time? No. Okay, right. No. So there's no reason to believe there might be something he could do differently.
I mean, we haven't seen it in a fight, but
But
also
right.
we've never seen
We
anyone.
haven't seen it.
Yeah, I want to see if it's there because, like we said, no one has like the cardio or the ability to. Okay, let me rephrase this. Is there anyone who you think could potentially not matching their cardio, matching Merab's cardio, but has some tool to either equalize or negate Merab's advantages in the bantamweight division?
Umar Nurmagomedov.
Okay.
I would say that like he beat him. It was what, 3-2 on most of the judges' scorecards. I think it was a split decision. Maybe it was unanimous.
I thought it was unanimous. The unanimous
Might be.
3-2. Yeah.
He, for at least 2 rounds, outgrappled and outstruck. And I would say for 4 rounds at least outstruck, but could not outgrapple. Merab, he seems like this whole division, just like it was Volkanovski and Holloway, just like it was Whitaker and Adesanya. This whole division seems like it's basically a Merab Umar Nurmagomedov, like what do you call that? Like dual kingship.
Yeah.
Overall,
Like rivalry.
Right? Yeah, let's just run that back because we're running back a king versus a joker here, right? And like Sean O'Malley does have the one punch knockout. He's kind of got the like sniper thing, but
Yep.
we didn't see him able to deploy it super well against Merab last time. And so I go like, and I haven't seen Sean O'Malley fight since Merab to demonstrate. Have you learned any of those lessons? Have you figured out how to snipe a wrestler better than you had before? I would have loved to have seen O'Malley versus Pyotr 2, or O'Malley versus Umar Nurmagomedov, or O'Malley versus Davison Figueiredo. And they didn't do that. They were like, nah, just have him fight Merab again.
Yeah.
What if we get the same fight again and then O'Malley is stuck in no man's land for the rest of the history of this division? Like, what's the point of this? I don't understand. Convince me I'm wrong, Colin.
No, I mean, you bring up really good points. You know, I mean,
No. Convince me I'm wrong, please, because we have to watch this fight. I need to feel hype for it, please.
No, I mean, Sean O'Malley does have next level striking, you know, and it's for the most part, I'd say levels above everyone. Just like how Merab's conditioning is like levels above everyone else's, I believe Sean O'Malley's striking ability is levels above everyone else's. But in their
Really?
last fight, yeah, I think so.
Above Corey Sandhagen and Umar Magomedov?
I would believe over Umar Nurmagomedov, yeah.
I mean, levels above Petr Yan? Petr Yan and him went to like a fucking gunfight, and it was a squeaky decision.
Mm.
I don't know if it's levels above.
I don't know. In my mind, like when I think about like high level strikers in the bantamweight division, Sean O'Malley's name like is one of the top names that appears in my mind. And maybe that's just because the UFC has marketed him that way, and I'm falling victim to that. But it's
Maybe.
just, when I see some of his, like, when I think about it, it's just that laser sniper like movement that you were describing earlier, and it is intriguing for me to see like how someone is able to negate someone who has such great striking like that. And then oftentimes what I like to see in fighting is like, okay, when someone who has like built their whole fight game around like one really powerful tool like that, and then they get overturned or like totally like dominated by another person who has taken a skill set and like maxed it out. What do? Do they continue to pump more into their striking, or do they try to figure out other ways to plug in the holes of their game? And what evolution do they show? And yeah, we haven't seen a fight to demonstrate that, but like, what if we do see this research, we do see an evolution in Sean O'Malley, like that would be exciting to see too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if we did see it, but I guess the thing is like there are other contenders and there are other fights that are more intriguing, at least at this present moment, in which like
I'm definitely not saying that there isn't that. I'm just saying the one that we were given, I'm interested in it.
Yeah, I'm a little no, we should fight for a Pantoja Merab, a Merab Petr Yan, a Merab Ilia Topuria. Like, let's get a little creative. Let's give Sean O'Malley just one more fight. Let's have him beat Corey Sandhagen, Umar Nurmagomedov, Davidson Figueiredo, Petr Yan again. Like, let's just have him prove it one more time. We have contenders at 135. We don't need to run this back. Also, because, like, if it looks exactly the same as it did their first fight, it's a boring fight.
Yep. And that is the danger.
Yeah, then it's like, well, we haven't really learned anything new. We knew Merab could do this. We knew Sean O'Malley couldn't stop this from happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sean O'Malley is stuck in this weird position of like, well, until Merab goes away, I can't win a title because nobody's going to give me a third match. And so I just go, well, this seems a little fast. This seems a little silly. Why do this? But all right, we have this fight. Whatever. It's not great. It's not what I think you should do at Bantamweight, but because like Umar nearly beat on points. I understand the optics in the last half of the fight were not for Umar, but nearly beat Merab. I would love to see Sean O'Malley beat Umar to prove that he's the number 2 bantamweight. Because at the moment, I'm like, well, even if Sean O'Malley happens to snipe Merab, Umar will probably take care of him. So it ends up being this like weird placeholder thing.
Right.
But anyway, this is a title fight. What other title fight is there, Colin?
Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison.
Okay. What is there to say about that fight?
Well, we talked about it in our like end of year predictions. Yeah. And I said I think Harrison's gonna win, but only one of two ways. Either super boring, where she just kind of like leans up against Pena and uses her weight to kind of bully her and like uses the cage that way, kind of like in her last fight, or she's able to use her like gold medal judoka abilities and submit Pena early. I think those are the only two routes it can go.
Now here's the question. If you had to favor one of those routes, and let's change the names for those routes. The boring route or the dynamic route?
All right.
What do you think is most likely to happen?
The boring route.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, taking that all in, let's sniff the roses. Oh, a wonderful bouquet. We have maybe a repeat of the boring fight Merab and Sean O'Malley had,
Mhm.
and then a boring fight between Kayla Harrison and Juliana Pena.
Yep.
Colin, that's not a good card.
No, no.
It's, that's a big stinker, I think, overall.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
There might be some good things earlier on.
Okay, what do we got?
Okay, well, again, one of the prelim or earlier matches will be Johnny Walker, and you never know what's going to happen with that guy. Either it's going to be
Yeah.
super dynamic or super travesty for him, and he gets knocked out horribly.
Yeah, who's he fighting?
Azamat Mirzakhanov?
Okay, so somebody's gonna get fucking grounded to paste in that fight.
Yep.
All
And
right,
you've got
all right.
you've got Josh Van versus Bruno Da Silva.
We love that fight. We
Yeah,
love that fight.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. There you go. You
Make
also
that
have
the headliner. We don't need these fucking title fights at the headliner. Put Josh Van up there. God damn, against Bruno Silva? Fuck
yeah.
yeah. Oil me up. I'm ready.
You also have Cheeto Vera versus Mario Batista.
Ooh, now here's the thing. Cheeto Vera, a cool, fun guy, a pretty boring fighter, I'd have to say. Right? So, like,
As of recent, yeah.
yeah, I'm interested, but not like not like a Josh Fan fight.
Right.
Uh,
No.
but yeah, okay. We got a decent card in our hands then.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
do have to say though, you do have a heavyweight fight.
What do we got?
You got Sergey Spivak versus Shamil Gaziev.
Oh my god. Does that suck? Who gives a shit?
I know.
Listen, I could throw a half melted carton of Haagen-Dazs into a 7-Eleven parking lot and see a more entertaining fight than Sergey Spivak and Shamil Gaziev. That's what I'd say. That's a terrible fight, and who cares? Whoever wins it. Like, here's the hard thing. They keep putting on heavyweight fights. Let's take a step back. We're happy for all these announcements. Great. We've got all these great fights. UFC 3, 14, 15, 16 all look pretty good. We're excited for them. There's a bunch of slop in between, but this is what the modern UFC is. Newer UFC fans, you won't know. It used to be just banger after banger after banger, and now you have to wade through kind of like Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption, 500 yards of shit before you hit the real good stuff. You know what I mean? It's just 500 yards of shit, one good thing. 500 yards of shit, one good thing. Anyway, they keep putting these heavyweight fights on. But unfortunately, there's only 3 heavyweights any human on Earth with half a brain cell is interested in. And those 3 people are not involved in these heavyweight fights. You know what I mean? Like, when you see a heavyweight fight on a card now, what is your, like, honest reaction? Regardless of name. Because I have a very, like, clear and, like, consistent reaction.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah. It almost, because again, like I said, there's 29 heavyweights on the UFC roster, which means over half of them are in the top 15 because there's not enough to even populate a 50-50 split. I almost take it as a like mark of like the card is actually bad. If there's a heavyweight fight, the card is bad. You know what I mean? Like heavyweight used to be I just learned this. When Kane and JDS were like going back and forth and having their trilogy, there were only 22 heavyweights in the UFC.
whoa,
That was
what?
Kane, JDS, Verdum, Antonio Silva. Yeah, there were only 22 heavyweights. I thought it was a volume of talent issue, but really it's a like quality of talent issue overall. And it's this crazy thing where like now I see heavyweight and I'm like, well, this card's gonna suck because they had to throw a heavyweight on it. Because unless it's Tom Aspinall or John Jones or non-UFC fighter, Francis Ngannou. Who cares?
Hmm.
Who cares? Yeah, man. It's a real bummer. It's a
Yeah.
real bummer.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 questions for you, Colin.
All right.
This
All right.
isn't a
Hit me.
Colin's crystal balls. This is a straight-laced question. You've been a fight fan for what? 15 years for MMA? 12 years?
God. Since maybe 2009. So, oh God, 15 years. Yeah. 15,
15
16
years.
years.
In your estimation, like really taking a good account of it, is this the worst the MMA product has been for you as a fan in your entire time watching the fights? And if not, what is the worst time?
Oh. The problem is I think it feels worse because there's so much more. And we've talked about this at
Mm.
length of how there's just so many cards now,
Mhm.
and the vast majority of them are so bad. Like when I
Mhm.
first started watching, I remember watching like, oh, like this fight's gonna be in 3 weeks. I can't wait. And you're like it's everything's building up to that. There's nothing to fill the airtime in between. Like
Mhm.
the way what you would do to fill in the airtime was you would rewatch old cards. You would watch
Yeah.
old cards of the fighters who were coming up, or just like this is like when I would watch all the Pride fights. Like, oh man, like I'm really excited for this fight. I gotta get my fix for some fights. Let's watch the Pride heavyweight Grand Prix again. Or whatever.
Mhm.
So like because there was less on the air, you filled your time with things that you really liked.
Mhm.
So I do think though there are a lot of fighters right now that are still like I they can match my excitement level for what I would watch back in like the early like when we'd watch together.
Mhm.
Like I remember being hyped for every GSP fight. I remember being hyped
Yeah.
for Anderson Silva's fights. I remember being hyped for the Junior Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez fights, like all those kind of things, like that whole time period. And I get hyped for certain fights as well still now. Like, like the Volk Diego Lopez fight I'm gonna be hyped for. The Topuria fights I've been hyped for. Max Holloway's fights still. It's just there's so much more fluff in between.
Mhm.
It really reminds it okay, it's like if as a like I was a basketball fan and as a kid I would only watch my team. I would only watch the Warriors play, you know? But now that I'm like older, I feel the need to watch every team. And some of the teams are good and some of the teams are real shit. Like I'm like forced to watch the Wizards play,
Mhm.
like who the fuck cares about them? Like
I guess a
so
good distinction though to like keep in mind is like in the NBA or a more traditional sport, you never have to watch. You never feel the impulse to watch more of the product outside of what the product you want to watch is. I just want to watch my team play.
mhm,
The UFC has definitely changed their product to be. I mean, I was looking this up. Between 2010, 2015, we on average 25 cards a year. That's one every 2 weeks, right? Like it felt a lot bigger because rather than every week, it was once every 2 weeks at maximum. You know what I mean? Like,
mhm.
th- so the other question I'd ask about all of that. So I guess, hold on, we never got a clear answer. Does it feel weaker? Does this feel like the low end or a little bit higher than the worst point in your fandom overall?
I think it feels worse because there's so much more and there's so much
Mm,
more slop. And
yeah.
we are in a transition period for a lot of our favorite divisions. Like we
Mhm,
talk about uh we've talked about like lightweight, like who's gonna take over, and lightweight's been cooking for so long.
mhm.
And just the fear of what's next is definitely looming like in the not too distant future. So I think
Yeah.
it feels worse than it is.
Okay. Which kind of goes to my second point, which is
Oh.
we have a lot more cards, we have a lot more fighters. Do you feel that the UFC has a star problem? Because in all the time we've watched it, every champion of a division was a star.
Mhm.
Jose Aldo, Dominic Cruz, Demetrius Johnson, Conor McGregor, GSP, Robbie Lawler, Anderson Silva, John Jones, right? Even like
Yeah.
Stipe, even like Kane,
Yeah.
JDS. These were all
Oh yeah.
stars. Stars of divisions are, at least I feel, pretty rare to come by. We've got Bilal Muhammad, vacant featherweight, Islam Makhachev, Magomed Ankalaev, interim Tom Aspinall, John
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah.
Uh, how do you feel about the current crop of UFC stars, and is it the lowest crop you've ever seen?
That I might agree on. I
Mm,
think, there is something back. I mean, we've kind of coined it as like the golden age of MMA when we had, those dominant champions all champion at the same time. So it
mhm,
felt like, man, these people are just so much better than everyone else. And like the entire division was reaching for them. And like the UFC could really like market around them. I mean, these names all champion at the same time. Demetrius Johnson, Dominic Cruz, Jose Aldo, GSP, Anderson Silva, John Jones. Like, what the fuck? Like, if
mhm.
you had just one champion of that caliber right now, like, which you could argue that they do have, but like,
Yeah.
it's different, When you had like 5 or 6 all at once, that's a really unique time. And maybe
Mhm,
it was just because like the skill or anything wasn't as developed, 15 years ago or whatever, and these guys were just way ahead of their time. Uh, and now like the sport has started to even out a little bit, which, like they say in most professional sports now, it's really hard to be to establish like a dynasty, with your team to have
mhm.
back-to-back championships. So it like when it happens, it's like really, really impressive. But for the most part, that doesn't happen anymore in professional sports. So for a fighter to win the championship and defend it multiple times, to hold on to it for multiple years in a row, that's going to become a rare and rarer feat, I think.
Well, I'll push back 2 points there. One is like I definitely agree we have a star problem. One is a sort of um I think the UFC isn't building enough stars. Like they're not actively trying to put like Ilia Topuria is one of the most well-known people in Spain,
Yes.
Like, and that hasn't translated to the US, and I don't think that's just because, oh, there's a language barrier. It seems like the UFC has not been pushing to try to get him to be. Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey were on the front cover of multiple magazines. We're doing Conan O'Brien, we're doing Jay Leno, we're doing all this shit. They're not doing that, even though he speaks English with Ilia Topuria. It does seem like the UFC kind of gives less of a shit about that. Also, I will say, like you said, like it's harder to set up a dynasty in sports now. But like we've even commented on GSP would probably in his prime still be, if he was fighting now, welterweight champion. Anderson Silva might be middleweight champion. Jose Aldo in his prime might still be featherweight champion if they were in their prime. We've
Yeah.
kind of noted that the skill level overall has dipped amongst the like amazing champions back in the day.
Mhm.
And I don't think that that's a, oh, well, we just happen to luck into 10 champions all being the most exceptional people all at the same time. It strikes me a little bit more of like there's less cultivation and nurturing of talent to allow for that than there was back in the day. Like the fact that we had Demetrius Johnson, Dominic Cruz, Jose Aldo, who else do we have at that time? Frankie Edgar,
Frankie Edgar
uh
/ BJ Penn.
Joe's GSP, Anderson Silva, John Jones, and Cain Velasquez all at the same time. And then even if we kind of like move it slightly forward, Junior Dos Santos, well, it was still John Jones, Chris Weidman, an amazing talent. GSP, we have Robbie Lawler afterwards, who we talked about as like one of the best welterweights. Max Holloway after Jose, like there was a great like overturn and nurturing of talent, which with either the pay scale that the UFC is providing or even just the model that the UFC provides isn't allowing for stars to exist
Yeah.
overall. Yeah, that because I kind of feel like there is potential for like we even talk about with like Steve Ursig. If his career was managed well, he could probably be a really great flyweight champion. He just keeps getting battered and bruised and not brought up in the proper way. Or like Raul Rosas Jr. and Bo Nickel, they push them endlessly to the mainstream audience, even though they're clearly not ready, to the point where eventually they're just gonna have to go like, well, you're gonna need a championship, even though they should have been on the prelims and never spoken about for 5 or 6 fights, but they've always been on the main card for every one of their fights, right? Like there has just been a massive mismanagement, I feel, of talent to create stars overall. And I think that's mostly because the UFC goes, we don't want stars. Right? Conor was able to leverage a shitload of money out of them. Ronda was able to leverage a shitload of money out of them. And they seem to go, we don't want that. Let's just keep it churning. Let's have a Bilal Muhammad as champ, right? We love Bilal Muhammad. I will remember the name. But like he's not the most dynamic, memorable. People forget even now that he's the champion. And that seems kind of by design, right? I mean, do you get that feeling or am I crazy?
Yeah. No. I'm 100% with you on that.
Yeah. It's it's weird. It's weird, man. It's especially weird because I feel like an old man shouting at a cloud about this shit. But like, dude, if you were here 2016, 2017, 2018, I mean, that's like, I guess 2014, 15, 16, 17. I mean, that's the exact overlap of Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey.
Mhm.
And I mean, George St. Pierre fought during that time. We had Israel Adesanya fighting during that time. We still had John Jones fighting during that time. We have Conor McGregor fighting during that time. You remember what it was like to have
Yeah.
less than 45 fight cards a year, and also like a big star on almost every fight card, you know?
Mhm.
And now we have Lerone Murphy, Josh Emmett. Nobody's gonna remember that fight. In
Nope.
3 years, no one will remember their name. You know, like what's that horrible line from the movie Troy that Brad Pitt says, where he's like, "That's why no one will remember your name," or like, "That's why your name will be
Yeah. That's
erased
why
by
no one will
dust."
remember your name. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what 95% of these fucking fight cards are. Like, no one will remember.
Mhm.
Right? Like, if you had to go, like, recall for me the last 3 best cards you saw in the UFC, what would they be, Colin?
Ooh. Best cards or best fight?
Best cards.
Ugh.
Probably UFC 300,
Yeah,
right?
300. I was gonna say 300.
Great. So that's 16 pay-per-views ago. Like, what else we got?
Yeah. Yeah. Most of these cards are bad, with the exception of like one fight.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
because
that's why I asked. I remember fights, not the card.
yeah, or, like, I jump back to, like, cards that really stood out. I go, like, to UFC, like, 217 when it was,
Oh Jesus, dude.
Bisbing, GSP, Nama Yunus, Jacek, Cody Garbrandt, TJ Dillashaw, right? Where I go back to like UFC 200 or UFC 202 when it was Connor and Nate, you know? Like you jump back so far and they end up being so far apart and then you go like, well, that wasn't too far. Like 217 to 202 and then you look and you go like there were like 90 fucking fight cards in between then that were
Mhm.
all just random things. And like it's gotten even worse where there's how many Apex cards in between fight nights that are real.
Yeah.
Um, it's a bummer, dude. So, last 2 questions. Number 1, how much longer do we exist in this era of slop in the UFC?
I think this is gonna be the new norm.
So that answers my second question. Or I guess you can add more to it. Does it get better in the next 5 years?
I I think there might be more talent that comes up or develops,
Mm.
but I think they will just cycle out with the existing talent. So I think this will just be the norm where you'll have a few select names in each division that you can rally,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much it. But it's one of those things where I think you'll find a name and you'll like, oh, like this guy could be a potential challenger or prospect, and maybe they turn out, maybe they don't. They one of like three people who are entertaining or exciting in a division.
Okay. That makes sense. I guess that leads me to the last thing. Colin,
Yes.
we've known, it's been studied. UFC fans have about a 5-year cycle where 80% of fight fans start at, let's say, the year 2020 and then cycle out at the year 2025.
Mhm.
We saw a massive, massive uptick in UFC fight fans in March of 2025, and it is now past, or in 2020, we now see that we are past March in 2025, which means we should be losing 80% of the fans and having them replaced by net new UFC fans. What would be the one thing you say to all of these people who are only 1 month into their fandom of the UFC?
Oh boy.
'Cause statistically, that's where we're at.
Care about flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, and lightweight, and some parts of welterweight. Everything
That's
else,
good.
don't worry
That's
about it.
good. That's right. That's a good one, right? Like, anything above 170 is not MMA. It's useless garbage. Listen to us. Listen to us. If any of you are listening, any of you 18, 19, 17-year-olds, I get it. I get it. I get it. We're all shit-eating wild men. We love men fighting shirtless. This is what we're into. Listen to Colin. 125 to 170 will be your saving grace.
Yep.
There is no salvation above 170. That's a wasteland. Don't go there. And remember, you don't need to watch every single fight.
Yes.
Listen to us. There are only certain fights you need to watch because it turns out, just like there are not 800 people on earth who can be NFL quarterbacks, there are not 800 people on earth that could be high-level MMA fighters. So let's focus on the 200 or so that are actually good overall. Anything else, Colin, you want to say?
No, I think that was good.
Yeah, yeah. We talked about a lot of random shit, a lot of
Yeah.
random stuff. But we're about to enter April. We're gonna have a great pay-per-view event in April for the UFC. A couple of terrible Apex cards on the side of that, and no decent boxing. Well, hold on. There's a Jerome Boots Ennis fight. We
Yep.
will talk about that. But besides that, fuck boxing. No.
Oh,
Boxing is
no.
great. Nah, yeah, we love boxing. But the UFC, slop, gross. But an absolute banger of a card. And this is how they keep us, Colin.
I
They
know.
starve us. It's kind of like love bombing, right? They just starve us of affection for a month, and they go, "Here's a delicious morsel." And we go, "Ooh, thank you, sir," and then we're so happy to receive it.
Yeah.
I'm one mentally abused fight fan, Stuart.
I'm one very tired fight fan, Colin.
I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Uh, Stay strong during the tariffs, everyone. Remember, only the proletariat can take back the means of production. Bye, everybody.